So here with Mark Manson, author of the wildly successful dating book Models, but he has a new book, the subtle art of not giving a fuck. And just the title alone, I was sold.
September 13th.
September 13th. You can pre-order it now.
Yeah.
On Amazon.
Yeah.
Or everywhere, or just Amazon. Everywhere books are sold.
Everywhere.
Cool, man. Cool. This is exciting, man. Now, your last book, Models, it's been given to me like tons of time from horny young guys. I'm just kidding. No, it's been given to me tons of time by guys. Every time someone wants to meet me or do something nice, they give me models. Like I get it all the time, and that's cool. I appreciate it, but it made me aware of you and maybe in the impact you have in my demographic I serve. Younger guys, but looking for their way. How is this book different from that?
Sorry. Well, one way I would put it is like the way Models was for dating. I kind of tried to do the same thing with the subtle art for just personal development in general. So like life in general, so Models, a big part of Models was like focusing on a lot of subjects that guys don't usually talk about in terms of like dating. Usually like when you get a bunch of guys talking about girls, it's just like, oh, I totally banged her, or I would totally bang her, whatever. And it's, Models, the goal of Models was to like really get into questions that like a lot of guys aren't comfortable talking about, but that need to be talked about. And this book's very similar in that it tries to get past all of the kind of like be positive, fake it till you make it type of advice, and look at like life sucks sometimes. That's true for everybody. So how do we just handle that adversity? How do we just not give a fuck about things that are not important, that are holding us back, and just focus on the few things in our life that actually matter to us?
Got it. Yeah. When I read, I haven't finished the whole thing yet, but when I've read the articles inspired by and some of the other work, the point you made a lot was, it's not about not giving a fuck about anything. It's about picking the things where you give a fuck about, right? And can you elaborate on that? Because I thought that was a good point.
Yeah, it's. I mean, essentially the whole title, it's kind of like tricking people to think about what they value. And because I think a lot of people, we just kind of go through life, like we just decide like, oh, I want to make a bunch of money, or, oh, I want to have a six pack or whatever. And like, we don't really think about what we're committing to, like what we need to invest, how much work we need to put in, and really what like our priorities are. Like, why do you want to achieve like a certain goal? Is it to impress people? Is it to prove to yourself that you're not a loser? Like, these are the questions that we need to be asking ourselves. And so essentially, like, yeah, it's easy to everybody kind of jokes around, like, yeah, dude, you just don't give a fuck, man. There's no fucks given. And it's like sounds badass and everything, but the truth is we all have to care about something. And the question is are you choosing what you care about, or are other people choosing for you?
No, that's dope. How do you make that decision, or how do you suggest the reader or or the rest of us make decision of like, all right, where do I give it? Where do I donate this fuck?
How do I donate my fucks? I don't have many to give.
I only have a limited amount. And it's a limited resource. How do I choose how to allocate my fuck resource?
Well, I think the first thing is like we need to be very honest with ourselves about why we're doing certain things. And I think that's the hardest first step for people is it's very hard for them to admit that they're doing something to impress people, or they're doing something because they need that validation for some reason. And that you need to be able to admit that to yourself before you're able to let it go and say, you know what, like with like fitness, it's like, okay, I care about my fitness, but maybe I'm just focusing on the wrong things. Maybe I have the wrong motivations. Maybe I just need to get back to like taking care of myself, pushing myself, setting personal goals and achieving them, and leave behind these ideas of, impressing my friends or impressing girls or whatever.
Yeah, you talked about that a lot in Models, right? Yeah. Like as opposed to we're talking about validation. Yeah. Instead of trying to seek validation, you or investment.
Yeah.
investment. And that was a part of the book that resonated with me a lot. You want to invest in yourself more than you invest in the person that you're trying to. Well, in that book it was women, but in this book it seems like it's the world, right? It's more global. Instead of trying to invest in the world, you invest in yourself, and then the world will want to invest in you. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, well, like the whole argument is like, if you invest in yourself first, if you do things for your own reasons, if you give a fuck about very like process oriented, taking care of yourself, all these other things, impressing people, getting girls' attention, making money, whatever, like that stuff will start to happen on its own as a side effect, just because you're developing yourself to such a high level. You're developing skills, you're developing confidence, you're developing your worldview, and so then all that success stuff comes, all the external stuff kind of just happens.
Right, because you've already built your. Like you become like a magnet to people want to give a fuck about you.
Yeah, well, and people see, they're like, wow, they're like, this guy's like, he's got his shit together, like he's not right. Because when you run off and you're trying to impress everybody, or when you're chasing some external goal, you're not going to be as motivated. You're not going to be as emotionally stable. Like it's you're most able to achieve things when you're doing them, because you're invested in yourself. Because it's like, it's something that you believe is important and powerful for yourself. It's something that you would do on a desert island, even if nobody, like you would probably fucking work out if you were on a desert island. Like you're not just doing this, like it's.
I wouldn't shave though.
Yeah.
I wouldn't shave. I'll be honest. I gotta be honest with you.
See, like I wouldn't wear pants, but it's like, you got to ask yourself, like, if nobody was around, or if I was in a country by myself, like, would I still do this stuff? And if the answer is no, then like you need to take a really hard look at, like, why do you give a fuck about that? Like, why are you trying to do that? Those sorts of things.
Right. No. That's pretty cool, man. It makes me think, like, I'm not as articulate as you, so bear with me.
It's okay. You have a much bigger heart.
Yeah. I don't have to impress people with my. Listen, if I was on a desert island, I wouldn't be articulate, but I'd have some big arms.
There's a reason I write you.
Having that said, how do you strike that balance between not giving a fuck, like, because there's some things that you probably have to give a fuck about that you wouldn't want to, like, as for, like, I have friends in the dating community, we'll call it, and they are real big on staying away from, the term eludes me, social conditioning. Right. But at a certain point, yeah, like you said, you wouldn't wear pants if you didn't have to. You could be, hey, I just don't care about social conditioning, or I don't give a fuck, I only care about writing books, right? But you still got to wear pants. How do you decide, all right, well, I'd rather not give a fuck about these things, but I live in a society. Where do you draw the line? Because I know I know you talk about boundaries a lot. Like, so where do you draw the line between, all right, I'd rather not do this, but fuck it, I gotta do it?
Well, I mean, you
gotta capitulate a little bit.
Yeah, part of having a society is that we all kind of agree to compromise and do a few things, like, you can't just like start a bonfire in the middle of like Fifth Avenue. Yeah, fuck it. Let's roast marshmallows. Like, we all, as a society, we all kind of get together and agree, like, okay, we're not gonna do these things because we're the rest of us are worse off. So when it comes to like social, I think it's important to differentiate between like social convention and like social conditioning. So like a social convention is like, yeah, you need to wear pants. Like if you go into a 7-Eleven without pants on, they're gonna ask you to leave and you can't buy like, whatever you want to buy. But social conditioning is more like feeling as though you're obligated to say or do certain things to make other people happy, I think. And I think, a lot of the social conditioning stuff and the men's dating world, I think sometimes those guys take it a little bit too far. And it's important to remember that it's not about necessarily like saying or doing whatever you want. It's being free from, it's basically about your goals. Like, are your goals your own, or have they been defined by somebody else?
Got it.
You know?
Got it. You know, it's that's a good point, because sometimes guys, they take this I don't give a fuck attitude, and it seems as like they are going out of their way to not give a fuck, or to display that they're not giving a fuck, which to me reeks of giving a fuck.
Yeah.
But I was wondering how do you it seemed like you agree with me. How do you balance that, right? How do you, because some people go out of their way to display the fact that I don't give a fuck, right? But
I think the funny thing about not giving a fuck is you can use it as a way to protect yourself. You can use it as like a way to avoid having to deal with other people. And yeah, I think with guys in particular, they often tend to overcompensate. They want to like prove how many few fucks they give, which is ironically still giving a fuck. Like they're actually giving more of a fuck because they're trying so hard to prove that they're giving a fuck. So it's like this weird paradox. And yeah, it's I always believe that it's pretty much like going extreme in any direction is almost always the same thing. Like, it's, if you're trying really, really hard to make everybody like you, then yeah, that's a problem. Like, you need to like calm down, not give so much of a fuck. But if you're trying really, really hard to prove that you don't care if anybody likes you, then at the same time you're trying way too hard. Like, it's just a healthy stance in that situation would be like just understanding, you know what, there's gonna be people out there who like me, there's gonna be people out there who don't like me. That's fine. I'm fine with rejection, I'm fine with acceptance. I'm gonna be me, and I'll just keep an eye out for the people who like who I am and engage with them, have relationships with them. And then if there are people who don't like who I am, like, that's totally fine too. Like, that's their own thing.
You don't even have to trip about it.
Yeah. You don't have to be like, oh, fuck them. I don't fucking care about anybody. You know, like, it's that is also a problem. It's giving a fuck. Yeah. So it's a funny, like, yeah, it's like, it's a very like complex, like, once you dig into it, like,
you can go in so many directions with your give a fuckness, right? Like, but
yeah, I love it.
You can't. I guess maybe it's something you can't fake, right?
Yeah.
What you're trying to say. So
yeah, you can't
exactly. So maybe some of those guys are trying to fake not giving a fuck.
But as soon as you start trying to fake, you're giving a fuck.
You're giving a fuck. All right. It brings me some of you dressing models a lot.
Yeah.
All right, and it seems like it's a lot of it is in here as well. Boundaries, right? You very firm boundaries. I know you talk about like walking out on dates just for no reason. Well, not for no reason.
Not no reason.
I'm sorry, unannounced. Like, just because like something went wrong, you're like, this
is just not working.
Yeah, I've done that before.
Like, nice meeting you.
Yeah, it's just not working, man. So is that a big thing with like boundaries and setting your boundaries? This is who I am. And maybe we all have to capitulate a little bit in society, but
sure.
But how do you establish where the boundaries are, and then how does someone convey that or make those boundaries firm?
Yeah. The way I describe boundaries, actually, I talk about it. There's also a chapter about it in this book. There's a chapter on the importance of rejection. How, like, you need to be able to say no to people, and you need to be able to hear no from people. And I think one problem most people have, they're either unable to do one or the other. Like, there are a lot of people out there who are able to hear no from people, but they're afraid to say it themselves. And then there are a lot of people out there who are really comfortable saying no to other people, but they hate hearing it themselves. And so the whole point is, like, you got to be comfortable with both. You got to be able to, and like, let's say you're like dating a girl, like, you got to be comfortable like saying to her, like, hey, like, I don't like this, or it's important to me that, like, you show up on time, or whatever. Like, you just kind of make it clear what matters to you. or tell her if you disagree with something or if you find something like disrespectful or whatever. You know, you do it in a polite way. Like, you don't be a huge dick about it.
Right.
But you also need to be willing to hear that from a woman. Like, if she says something, she's like, you know what, I really don't like it when guys do this and it makes me feel like bad or whatever. Like, you need to respect her and respect that and be like, okay, and ask yourself, you know, is that something I'm willing to accommodate? And if so, then it's like you do that. And if not, then you're like, okay, this isn't going to work. And so it comes back to, it really comes down to respect. It comes down to respecting that everybody has a right to say no at any given time. And being able to not take that personally. You know, it's like, oh, she says that she doesn't like this, like, oh, she think I'm a fucking loser. Like, you know, it's not about you. It's not about you. This is just who she is, and you are who you are, and if you can both respect that, you can build like a really healthy relationship, or not.
Yeah, and do that up front.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and a lot of people have trouble. I think a lot of like relationship problems, it just comes from people not being able to say those things. You know, it's like they feel it and they'll hint at it. You know, like you'll like start nagging each other. It's like, whoa, you know, if you had been around on Saturday, you would have known, like, blah blah blah. And it's like, no, dude, just fucking say it. Yeah. Like, you're annoyed about something, say it respectfully, and then she'll either be able to handle it or she won't. And you just let the chips fall where they may.
Yeah, I like that. You know, I think a lot of people in relationships have this problem. You ever meet someone and they say, "Oh man, I'm dating this person." It's a guy or a girl dating this person, and they just change. They change. Yeah. I don't think they change. I think they stop pretending to be that the avatar, the facade they use to try to attract the person. Right? They stopped pretending to be this person. And then the real person, you can only pretend for so long, right? Yeah. And well, he changed. No, man, he never liked that shit. Yeah. She never liked that, you know? She was pretending to like sports to like you, or he was pretending to like chick flick or whatever. Yeah. You know, I like, that's why that just resonates with me, because if you like that up front, well, then you don't have those problems. Yeah. And this is, man, I really like the concept of this book. If I was more articulate and a better writer and I wasn't half retarded, I might have said something to this effect, because I believe, and I like your thoughts on this. I believe it's better to just be so upfront about who you are, and not in a mean way or like I'm this, I don't give a fuck, not like that. No, just like, no, this is who I am. This is who I am. And it's better that people like you for that than to like a fake version of you that you present to the world. But I'd like your take on that, or what you think.
Totally, because it's if you're getting people to like a fake version of you, then it's like you said, like, it's gonna run out sometime. You can't fake for the rest of your life, because then you're just gonna make yourself miserable. Like, you're faking yourself 24/7, and like, that's no way to live a happy, interesting life. Yeah, I mean, the trick there is to just convey your identity in a way that's honest, but it's also respectful. And you know, it's funny, you mentioned like chicks like pretending to like sports, or like guys pretending to like movies. You know, there's another thing about boundaries where, and this kind of ties in with all the boundary stuff, or like the willingness to say no. But like, I think a lot of relationships, they have this mistaken assumption that, like, you know, I like this kind of music, so you have to like it too, you know, or like, I like this movie or this TV show, so you have to like it too. And it's a healthy relationship is when you say, like, you know what, like I like heavy metal music. My fiance hates it. She thinks it's just trash, and that's cool. You know, it's like, I put on headphones when I listen to it, you know, and it's like, and she respects that. She understands that. I go to heavy metal shows with my buddies, and there's no effort to like change each other or like talking trash about each other's taste in music. Like, it's just like, this is who he is, this is who I am, and we like respect that.
I like that my girl isn't into all the same shit I'm into, because then I'd have no breathing room. Yeah, you know, I wouldn't have no time, no space.
Always be together.
But what if it is important? Some people, it's important, man. I feel like they should be upfront about that initially, and just and you know, and just find someone right?
Yeah.
There's a chick who likes heavy metal out there. If that was like a requirement for you, if it was, right?
If that's like one of the biggest things in your life,
Yeah.
you know, and I think every relationship, you need things you both like, you know, you need things in common, but you don't need everything in common. You don't need to do everything together.
Yeah.
And in fact, it's healthier if you don't do everything together.
I
It's
think
healthier.
so.
It's healthier.
I think so.
It's healthier if she's got her own thing and you got your own thing.
Yeah, I buy these I'm obsessed with these drinks. It's called Izzy. It's like just carbonated fruit juice. That's all it is. But I hate the grapefruit flavor. Like I despise it. It's like the worst thing I ever tasted. And I like the grape. Big surprise. Okay, insert racist jokes here. You know, I love it, and I'm not ashamed. It's who I am. I don't give a fuck. And she doesn't like it. And so it's bad. It's dope. It's amazing because like we don't like the same. And we don't have to worry about drinking the same thing, man. That's. So yeah, this just resonates with me, man. I get more grape juice is what I'm trying to say.
Exactly.
And so that makes me happy.
The key to a successful relationship.
Why does everything always come back to grape juice?
Get more grape juice.
Every time I'm with.
Find a girl who lets you drink the grape juice. You heard it here first.
That's gonna be my dating advice book. You know what I'm saying? How to get more grape juice out of your relationship.
Write it for women. Call it let him drink the grape juice. The key to a happy man. The key to making your man happy.
That'd be
the sad thing is like, man, like we're so simple. Like it's seriously like
fucking juice.
Yeah, like like sometimes I come home with my fiance and I'm just like, you know what? I just want to play video games all night. I'm just gonna stay up till like 2 and play video games. And she's like, okay. And like I'm so fucking happy. Like it's just I'm so happy. I'm like, this is awesome. And like I have guy friends who, you know, their girlfriends complain or they're like, oh, you play too many video games or whatever. And it's like my girl's just like, have fun.
See, me is grape juice. You is Nintendo or whatever it is. You know, that's cool.
We all
have our
thing. We're so simple. It's good to be simple.
Yeah, man.
It's good to be simple.
Is this going to be a problem? No, this is something I want to talk about.
Okay.
Your language, man. Your potty mouth. Potty mouth. You get this all the time, and you know, and I get it all the time too. You know, why don't you be more professional? Why you be more professional? I'm like.
People don't want professional, man.
I don't want to be professional. I got in business myself, so I wouldn't have to be like, it's because I don't give a fuck. But how do you deal with that, or do you deal with that? Because I know that the language thing and the jokes, like we've made racist, sexist jokes. I think we probably offended a good portion of the populations in these few minutes. How do you handle that? You know.
I wrote an article about this. I got so many complaints. I wrote an article called "Why I Have a Potty Mouth," and I mean the most basic reason this is just how I talk. Like when I'm just hanging out with my buddies, like I just drop F-bombs everywhere, and that's how I've always talked. But I also like talked about how like I was kind of serious. Like the language you use to teach people things, like it affects how they receive it. You know, like if we stood up here and like gave like a very formal presentation on all these ideas, like people watching this would receive it very differently, and it would affect them very differently. And for me at least, when we're talking about these like life advice concepts, you know, like about like happiness and our emotions and our relationships, I think it's effective to kind of put a lot of humor in there and put a lot of like shock value in there, because it kind of like it shows people these concepts in ways that they've never seen them before. You know, it's like if you can put like an anal sex joke in the middle of like relationship advice, people remember it, and it like wakes them up, because it like,
can we call this anal sex and grape juice? Can we call this episode? Remember that's the title.
Anal sex and grape juice. I love it. And it's like people, because you know, like life advice, the self-help world, it's the same shit over and over. There's nothing new. You know, it's like, so what makes self-help effective is the way it's taught, the way it's conveyed. And it's just my style. It's just like, hey, fuck you, get off the couch, you know, and like making anal sex jokes. So like that's that's what worked for me in life.
You gotta find your niche. You cornered that anal sex market.
Yeah, man. It's a big market.
Well said. Well said. I think it's because for all intents and purposes, I know you have issues with the self-help community, but this is a self-help book, right? For all right, and I think it's good though because if you read something by some guy in a suit or like some guy or some hippie with some fucking beads on and she's talking about energy, like that's like she's talking about energy and shit. I don't want to hear that. I even if she's saying I can't, like a lot of my friends, they love Eckhart Tolle, right? They love him, and I'm like, man, I can't listen to this guy speak. He looks like a hobbit, and it's not interesting to me, right? And so like, but would you say a lot of it it's all the same stuff? Is what makes you and like God, and it's perspective, I think, and the way you convey, and more importantly, this is what I've noticed from you is you reach guys who wouldn't get reached by the flower girls, it's like they're like preaching to the choir a lot of time, and it's like a Bible with a Playboy cover. And I don't like the Bible or Playboy, but it was just for
Well, I will say one thing I do give a fuck about is making sure, and this is what like the flower girls and the hippies and hobbits do a lot of times, is they kind of just make shit up. They're just kind of like, the universe has told you that blah blah blah, and I hate that shit. Like it's like there needs to be some evidence. There needs to be some sort of research or evidence. Like some scientist, some guy in a white coat somewhere,
gotta be something,
should at least, like, maybe the research isn't concrete, like maybe it's still open for debate, but at least there needs to be some guy in a white coat somewhere who said, I think this is right, and like, so when I do research for my articles and for my books, it's like I look for that because I don't want to be that guy who's like standing up with beads and saying like, oh, your vibrations are manifesting your chi and whatever. It's, I want to say like, hey, there's a dude at Stanford who fucking researched this and he says this is what happens.
Exactly.
And maybe he's wrong, but at least he's way more credible than, whatever.
And a lot of that hippie shit, I'm sorry, is it's just bullshit, man. I know you guys. I think we feel it. It is. I mean, there's something to thinking positive, and it's just something to it.
Positivity is good.
Yeah,
like we all know positivity.
Yeah, sure. But then they tell you,
but it's so much more good. It's like, when do you think positive? Should I like if my mom dies at a car accident? Should I think positive?
Or maybe her vibration was off. Maybe she attracted that car crash.
Yeah, obviously. She wasn't thinking positive. That's the problem.
She has some negative energy, man.
She wasn't thinking positive.
Saw karma, baby. Saw karma. She hit somebody she probably hit somebody with her car years ago. She never told you about it. It's karma, man. There's all the universe, how the universe works. Like, you watch The Secret. I watched The Secret and man.
Oh man.
Come on, man. They had some fucking woman. She had cancer, which is awful, right? She had, and she cured her.
I feel like you wanted to say it.
You know what? I chose, you got to capitulate a little bit to
exactly.
society,
Society will have to make compromises.
I couldn't call a cancer patient a dirty whore, I wouldn't do that. I would.
You have standards.
Nah, I got listen, man. I got some standards. I wouldn't call her a goddamn cum goblin.
You would call Eckhart Tolle
a hobbit. No, I said he looked like a hobbit, and that's a fact. That's a fact. That's a science fact.
It is a scientific fact, but what's the difference between a hobbit and a cum goblin? Because I'm getting the same visual. For the next episode.
Yeah, that's all. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. The cum goblin, hobbit, goblin. I don't. When I go down that path, I'll be there all day.
Let me research it and get back to you.
I need the guy in the white coat to get some evidence on the differences before I can really start speculating.
Okay.
Anything I say is just speculation.
So we were talking about The Secret.
Right. This woman had cancer, which is awful, but she cured her cancer by watching funny movies. Yeah, no medicine, no funny movies, and listen, maybe it happened, right? I mean, this crazy shit happens in the world, like crazy shit happens.
Cancer just goes away sometimes.
Yeah, I mean,
randomly.
yeah, or even the fact that, like, it's maybe, but I don't know if that's advice.
No.
Yeah, watch funny movies.
Let me just put it this way. If funny movies cured cancer, like Will Ferrell and Adam Sandler would be the richest men on the planet right now. Like, they would be multi-billionaires.
Yeah.
Like, there would be so much demand for comedy.
Yeah, and then people say, oh, because no. They say, oh, the medical industry. No, if they could monetize cancer humor, they would do it. You know, then there was another. This is the part that bothered me the most.
Yeah.
Like, cause that's, all right, whatever. Most people don't have cancer, right? So that's not going to affect all of us.
Yeah.
But then there was a kid who wanted a bicycle, and he just kept drawing pictures of it or some shit, and sitting in his room alone, imagining having a bicycle. Some old man brought it to him. That's not advice. Even if that did happen, that's not advice. And I just think I don't like them telling, especially young men. Maybe if you're a hot chick, guys are just some old man that show up with all types of shit. But if you're a man, nobody's gonna give you shit. Especially some old man's not gonna give you a bike without you having to.
Let me put it this
give
way.
him a hand job.
I spent I spent from age like 12 to 21, I spent probably 10 hours a day thinking about hot girls. None of them came to me. None of them showed up.
Was your vibration off? Was your vibration off?
Apparently, I wasn't thinking positive enough. Apparently,
wasn't
but
thinking
yeah,
positive.
but it's. I was thinking about them.
Yeah.
I was putting my little waves out.
So yeah, I guess you just drew pictures of this book all day, and one day it just showed up. Is that how that happened? Did that happen?
The words just magically showed up. I didn't have to think about it.
So it seems like we're on the same page with the self-help. I don't want to. I know because we're promoting this, right? And you can actually pre-order this book right now. This is something you should give a fuck about. You should give a fuck about this. Like, don't give a fuck about other shit except this book, man.
I could just imagine people like in the bookstore. No, don't give a fuck.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I'm not supposed to give a fuck, so maybe I won't buy anything.
I'm not gonna buy it.
You know what? This Mark has convinced me not to give a fuck. At first, I gave a fuck about reading and learning, but after reading this, I'm like, you know what? This is good advice.
On second
I'm
thought,
out.
I need to call my publisher because this is a horrible marketing campaign. People are always like, I don't give a fuck about this. Just stop the video.
But you know who will? The people, the non-conformists, people who don't just listen. I'm not going to not give a fuck because he tells me to, and they buy the book. So unless only the sheep won't buy this book. So if you're not a sheep, if you're not a conformist,
if you're not a hobbit or a cum
goblin hobbit, then you need the book now. Then buy the book now. And if you don't buy it, it's just that's just where you've chosen a side, you've chosen a path.
Yeah.
Well, it's great. It's great talking to you,
awesome,
Mark.
man.
They can get the book on Amazon.
Yeah.
Pre-order. We'll probably put a link in the description or wherever you're watching this.
Barnes and Noble, your local bookstore, wherever.
Yeah. And September 13th was when it
hits shelves.
Hit shelves.
Yeah.
I always notice when I pre-order stuff off Amazon, I get it way before the day. So if you want an early copy, pre-order it now. All right. Yeah, where else should they find you, or you just want to buy the book? That's what I would do. I wouldn't tell them shit. I'm like, you can only find me pre-ordering this book.
You won't find me anywhere.
I don't give a fuck.
Just markmanson.net.
All right.
Check out my articles. Check out models.
The new one is good. The one on the guy with the thing. I don't say it, but the new article.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the latest one.
Okay. Yeah, the guy with the thing.
Donald Trump.
Yeah. We're not gonna say that word out here.
Here's the guy who doesn't. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot. Peace. Yo, we're doing a new coaching program.
30 days of greatness. And every morning, I'm gonna give you a different key to help you accomplish your inner greatness, to help bring it out of you. And I'll be doing Q&As and answering questions. And you'll be able to send your questions in before. That way, if you can't make it to that morning session, you'll be able to watch the replay. All right, this is only for people who join the 30 Days of Greatness program. But on top of that, I'm throwing in a lot of dope bonuses. I'm throwing in free copies of my books and never before seen footage of me and some of my friends, colleagues, mentors, people who I look up to, people who I respect. I filmed a ton of masterminds with those people, so it's gonna be hours and hours of bonus footage that's only gonna be available to the people who join 30 Days of Greatness. It takes 21 days to build a habit. I'm throwing in 9 extra ones because I want you to become great. I want to bring that out of you. And if you already are great, let's become greater. There's always room for improvement. Let's do this. Let's do this together, all right? Click the link below to sign up, man. While I get back in the shower.